well?
Corsi. Well, what do you think you want people more to see?
I'm going to go with the Bond.
Oh.
Sure.
If you could do me a favor, chat was saying they can't really hear his mic. Just put your hand like this and just talk a little bit.
Okay, I'm going to be talking about the game of 49 today, and I'm going to tell you all about the rules.
I'm just going to grab your box here. Okay, talk again.
Okay, talking about the game of 49 today.
I think the button just got flipped.
Oh, okay.
All right.
You good?
Yeah, your mute button was just on, so what they were getting was off of my mic.
Even my wife has asked if there's a mute button she could use sometimes.
If only it was that easy.
If only it was that easy, I'm going to tell you.
Okay, Corsi.
Corsi, that
All
is
right,
correct.
we're good. Here we go. Hi, my name is Beth Hiley here for Board Game Geek TV at Gen Con 2014. I'm sitting down with Mark Corsi of Marquee Games. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Well, I was saying when you asked me that before, I said I'm lovely, and it really is true. I love doing this.
You have a pretty cool gig here, I got to tell you.
I know, right? See, all I have to do is sit here, and everyone comes to me, and I get to see all the latest and greatest and coolest.
That's true. That's true. I hope this is one of the greatest and coolest you see today. How's that?
Well, with that intro, what is all about the Game of 49?
Well, the Game of 49. Actually, the Game of 49 we kickstarted earlier this summer successfully.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Our goal was to raise $4,900, and we did that, a little better than that. And the game takes its name from the board, which is a 7x7 square grid, 49 spaces. Each space has a unique number. And the players will start with $49 in cash. We've got it laid out here as if it was a 3-player game. It does play 2 to 5, ages 10 and up. But we've got a 3-player game laid out here. Each player is going to start with $49 in cash on a supply of chips in your color. Now, you don't have to buy the chips or anything like that. They're yours to use. They just are for indicating the spaces you have claimed on the board over the course of the game. So you get your cash, you get your chips, and what you're trying to do, quite simply, is get 4 spaces in a row on the board. It's just a 4-in-a-row game.
Diagonals included?
Any direction. It can be vertically, can be horizontally, can be diagonally. Now, the way you acquire spaces is that you have to win them at auction. And the way the gameplay proceeds is that on your turn, you will take the card deck, you will draw the top number card from the deck, and whatever card comes up, that's the space that's going up for auction.
Okay.
So I'm going to sort of sneak a peek into the deck here and take that one. So let's say, for example, that space number, thank you, that space number 46 came up. You would simply start the auction with the player who drew that. It would be an around the table clockwise auction. Whoever's willing to spend the most for that card would win it. They'd pay the bank, they'd take the card, and they'd place their chip on the 46.
Is it just a once around auction where you get one shot, or until it peters out?
It's until there's the last person standing.
Okay.
Exactly. That's the basic game. Scattered throughout the deck, shuffled into the deck, there are going to be 12 what are called wild payoff cards. And whenever one of those comes up, it's going to represent a range of spaces on the board. Let's see if I can find you one of those. Right there. So that one actually represents the green ring. If you look at the board, there's a little green shading on that ring there. That indicates that that's the ring that's being auctioned off with this particular wild card. You auction it off the same as any other card. If you win it, you get to choose to put your chip on any one space within that number range. Any unoccupied space. There is no bumping permitted.
Which, so whoever had previously won this 46, we get to choose from any of the remaining.
Exactly. We have an incentive to want to get next to that 46, say, but maybe you had a chip out here somewhere and you could benefit diagonally by going into the 47. So it works that way. In addition to being a wild card, these are payoff cards, and these are the only way players get their money back from being spent at auction, okay? The payoffs work this way. Everyone in the game is entitled to a payoff, and your payoff is equal to $7 for each chip you have on the board at that particular moment. So if you have 1 chip on the board, you get $7 back. If you have 3 chips on the board, it's 21. You spent more money to get those 3 chips on the board, but your payoff is a little higher, so you're getting paid back. Now I'm gonna test you here because it's only Thursday and you're still fresh, so you should be able to do this, okay? There's a maximum payoff in the game of 49. Game of 49, 49 squares, $49 cash to start, $7 for each chip you get paid off. What do you think would be the maximum payoff you'd get in the game of 49?
Well, if you, the payoff is capped for it?
There's a payoff cap, exactly.
So 7 chips.
7 chips would be $49, that's exactly right. I see you are fresh.
It's only because it's Thursday.
But in fact, you can put as many chips as you can afford on the board. You can buy an 8th chip, a 9th, a 10th. The thing is, you still only get that $49 payoff, okay? So you can improve your board position, but you can't improve your income at that point. So that's the way the wild cards work. There are also wild 49 cards that apply just to the middle space on the board. And that is the unique space in the game. That's the only space where you're allowed to bump an opposing player. There are 5 of those in the deck, and in fact, there is no regular number card for the 49 space. The regular number cards cover 1 through 48, but only the wild 49 cards will get you into that center space. There are 5 of them, and the way it works is that the first time you auction it off, whoever wins it will pay the bank just like any other card. They'll take the card and they'll place their chip right there in that center space on the board. If another one comes up a little later, it usually does because there are 5 of them scattered throughout the deck. If a different player wins it, in fact, they will just knock you right out of there. Depending on the player, you might get sound effects, you might get a booyah kind of thing going on there, but you know, it's not in the rules.
As I just did myself.
You don't have to do that, that's optional, okay? But that's the way that space works. Here's the nice thing about it. If you've won it because the card came up and you won the auction for it, and another auction comes along and you win it again, not only do you get to retain that space, but you also may put one of your chips on any unoccupied space anywhere on the board. So it is the wild card for the entire board. But you got to win it twice in a row to get that benefit, okay? There are a total of 12 wild cards scattered throughout the deck out of a total of 60 cards. So that's 1 in 5. So you figure your chances of getting a payoff are about 1 in every 5 draws, but it's a deck of cards. They're shuffled in there, you never know. It could be 2 in a row.
So you're not strategically seeding them evenly?
No, we've got none of that going on. You're going to be taking your chances with the shuffle of the cards. And so you might go 5 cards without getting a payoff, you might go 2 cards, you might go 10 cards without getting a payoff. So money management is really critical, managing your board position is really critical. And the other thing that really is kind of cool is clever players have figured out that if you keep track of who's got the most money, you can kind of force the other guy to take a hit when you don't want to do that. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I can set up sort of an end game here, I'm going to remove this top board.
I love that you came pre-prepared with this.
Well, this is kind of an interesting end game setup. As I said, we have a setup here for a 3-player game, red, yellow, and blue. So let's say this is the setup, and the next card drawn is that card I just had up there. It's that 41 to 48 wild card, okay? You look at that board and you can see right away that that's going to be a winner for yellow, okay? And neither blue nor red wants yellow to win that. But let's say that blue gets first shot, if blue drew this card, blue gets first shot at the auction, at the bidding. And if blue's been clever, maybe blue has been tracking money and blue thinks, I'm pretty sure red has enough money to block yellow. I don't have to spend my money to do that. I'm going to pass. So blue just drops out of that auction. What that does is it forces red to spend red's money to keep yellow from winning the game. If blue is clever, blue does that. So let's say red wins that auction, and red does successfully block yellow. Now red can go anywhere in 41 to 48, but red can both block yellow and also set up a winning combination for red at the same time. That's a payoff card, everybody would get a payoff. You notice that blue's got only 6 chips on the board, 6 times $7, $42 for the payoff. Both red and yellow now have exceeded 7 chips on the board. They're not going to get any more money than $49 because that's where the payoff caps out, okay? So each of those guys is going to get $49, blue's going to get $42, and you go to the next card, which, as it turns out, happens to be another wild card. Sometimes that happens, sometimes you get 2 in a row. You look around the board now and you think, well, that's an interesting card because that's in the orange ring. That's a winner for red. How about that? That's a winner for yellow. And it's a winner for blue. But guess what? Just on that previous card, blue was very clever, forced red to spend red's money to stop yellow, and is sitting on a big pile of money. So red's probably got enough money to go, or blue rather, to go right there and win that game. So it's a very simple game, a very straightforward game. I've heard a lot of people say to me, this is a great way to introduce people to auction games. People who aren't accustomed to auction games can play this game because the board position is very out in the open. You can see exactly what's going on, but there's enough subtlety to it that I think I've had real success in engaging more serious gamers. My weekly game group, which is a pretty serious group, has found this to be a very satisfying game. I've played it with 10, 11-year-old kids. They found it satisfying. I have to tell you, my 2 favorite experiences I had at another convention. I had a group of young kids, ages roughly 13 to 17, sit down. I didn't even invite them. They just came over, saw the game, were interested, sat down and played it. I gave them the rules very quickly, and they were instantly masters of the game. I mean, it was really gratifying to think how smart these kids were, how quickly they got it. And more recently, I had an incident where a group of Japanese students who were in the country studying English came to a session where some designers were meeting, and they sat down and played the game. No language barrier, no difficulties. They played the game beautifully. They really enjoyed it. They passed my my #1 test, which is they immediately wanted to play it again.
Oh, that is always the best compliment.
Very gratifying, it really was. So that very simply is the game of 49. We're being printed by Ad Magic, which specializes in printing independently published games. And
when do you think? So obviously, you've successfully kickstarted
we've kickstarted.
this.
In fact, we are waiting for the full shipment of the games to arrive, but by the blessings of Ad Magic, they got some games here early enough for us to actually have a demonstration right here in Gen Con. So we're selling games right here today.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
And Mark, I'm like so pleasantly enjoying, and this is one of those ones that wasn't really on my radar that now I want to go march over and
to hear
go
that
try.
it is, yeah. Well, you know, they've got me scheduled to do events in the event hall throughout the weekend. So if you happen to have some free time and you're over that way, look us up. We'd love to have you play the game. We never have a group that doesn't get along playing this game. We have groups that give each other a hard time, but that's part of the spirit of the game too. So, yeah.
Well, I certainly hope that you guys have an excellent show and that everyone who gets a hand on this and I'm sure we'll have a good time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's really nice to talk to you.
Nice talking to you too.